The Macabre World podcast is brought to you by Darker Art Studio, home of real human bone jewelry. Stock and custom pieces are available, so visit us on the web at www.darkerartstudio.com and show them your darker art side. Macabre World, a podcast from Darker Art Studio, where we explore the dark, strange, and unusual from this world and beyond. Hello and welcome to the Macabre World podcast. I'm your host, Rocky Digati, and today we have Christopher Chainsaw and Gregory Cuneo from I Heart Horror, the founders of the I Heart Horror Day. Guys, thank you for joining us.
Hey, Rocky, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing good. So you guys are brothers. Who's older?
Me, 6 years. By 6 years.
6 years. Okay. So tell me about how I Heart Horror got started. It is I Heart Horror is a holiday. It's I Heart Horror.
Yes,
Day.
it is official holiday through Chase's calendar of events. It's a book that is in every library. They use it as a reference. So, if they're in town looking for something to do that weekend, that day, they're like, oh, it's this weekend at this date, what's going on? What can we do with the kids around town? What can we do with the public? And they do like recently we discovered they were doing mask making on our holiday, our Horror Day in the Midwest. So that was a fun thing to stumble upon.
Chicago.
Yeah, we saw the event listing and I'm like, wait, somebody took our holiday.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's Chase's calendar events. That's why they found it in our book.
We were thinking that somebody, just like took our holiday and decided to make it their own.
Yeah, so it came about because we're lifelong horror fans, and we were sitting around during COVID. We were enjoying all the streaming services that carry horror movies,
like Tubi and Pluto and Shudder.
And I that year as well was one of the years that annually I would say happy horror day to people, my social friends on Facebook or whatever, which is February 4th. That being Alice Cooper and George Romero's joint birthday.
Also, Maria Digati's birthday. If she's listening, that's my sister. It's her birthday too.
Oh,
so throwing that in there.
Oh, that's fantastic. She's a good company with those
She
kids.
is. She's an excellent company. She's we always used to say, "Oh, you were born on Alice Cooper's birthday."
I love that.
So you knew that, the whole Alice Cooper's birthday.
And George Romero, and the father of the modern day zombie. Very important.
Yeah, most people don't know George for some reason. Everybody always knows Alice,
you know what? They have in the Chase's calendar event, they have the birthdays of February 4th, and they have Alice's listed, but they don't have George's. But they do have it in our blurb talking about our holiday. So I'm glad we were able to add that. So, we were hanging around during COVID times, watching a lot of horror movies.
Trying to get caught up on like lesser known ones, not like
we got into a lot of Giallo that year.
Yeah, a lot of it's
during COVID times. But we were sitting around. Another annual year of Horror Day, what I called it at the time, came around.
So that was probably 2021.
It's 2021, yeah. And I'm like, we also started knowing more about how many darn holidays there are for everything. And
oh my goodness, there's like a toilet day. There's like
exactly
stuff.
Yeah, National Rodeo Day,
right? Yeah,
National Fly Fishing Day, whatever.
Talk like a pirate day.
Any day you would want to be represented by something you love is out there already. And I said, you know what? We need to do a horror day. I don't think that there is one, and so I started Googling it, and I thought it was perfect. Being February, being the day that I celebrate every year, because I'm not really a big fan of Valentine's Day. My brother is, and so I there's a lot of jokes that a lot of horror fans, tongue in cheek, saying, hey, let's shoot Valentine's Day into space and use Halloween. Use that February for our second Halloween. So I figured, let's do a horror day. That's like a second Halloween, and it would be a celebration of, kind of what I started out with, just mostly being George and Alice, but branching off into all that is horror.
Yeah, because we would used to even before COVID and stuff, we would watch a George Romero movie every February 4th.
Yeah, we would.
Right.
What we it was kind of like what we do on Elvis and David Bowie's birthday, which is January 8th. We would do the same with George and Alice. We would watch something of George's and something of Alice's, and that's how we would celebrate. And then as years went by, we would just make sure we indulge in horror on that day. And I started telling people online, it's horror day, and on Facebook, it's kind of your own world. So you go, you try to have a platform, and you're like, we're designating this day to be horror day. So, wear your favorite pair of horror pajamas, or drink out of your favorite horror pint, and drink your horror themed beer, and and just totally submerge yourself in horror. So I started doing my research and trying to find how we would get that holiday done. And I reached out to National Day Calendar, which is a little harder to get into. They said you got to be more established. You got a
certain amount of people get picked.
It's a real little amount of people that they give a chance to have their holidays being made.
We found out the other day that you actually have to write an essay.
Yes,
to become a holiday.
So, but we have that. We are going forward with that. Hopefully, that's the next step, is to have it put in the National Day calendar. Right now, it's in the Chase calendar events, and you will only know about it if you have that book or look in that book, whatever. But with National Day calendar, it would be on people's actual calendars on their wall, which would be kind of wild, whatever. So
is that also the same people behind the one on my cell phone that comes up with holidays I've never heard of?
It's probably National Day.
Yeah, National Day is the biggest and most well known, and like I said, they do calendars. They do a whole bunch of other
We'll have day-to-day calendars. They have wall calendars. I don't know.
Yeah, they got it covered. They definitely got it covered. So we started reaching out to people. They said that's not going to work out. So a holiday came up called Frankenstein Friday, and unlike I always like to look into the background of everything. Geminis, we just love to find out where things came from. We love tidbits and trivia, and so as a Frankenstein Friday, where did this come from? So it ended up being a friend of mine, Ron McCloskey, which is actually the guy who was co-creator of the Adams Fest of Westfield, and the man responsible for Adams' house to get a marker. Historic
in Westfield.
Oh well, yeah. So he's a huge Adams Family fan and a huge Frankenstein guy. And he actually won a whole bunch of awards for
a Rondo. He won
a Rondo Award for his Boris Karloff documentary that he did along with Sarah Karloff and a few other people. His daughter,
The Man Behind the Monster.
The Man Behind the Monster.
Boris Karloff.
Oh, you have to watch it. It's on streaming. So it's The Man Behind the Monster.
Our grandma's actually born on Boris Karloff.
Yeah, so how cool is that? Our grandmother is born on Boris Karloff Day. Yeah. Your sister is with royalty there. Ours is as well. Our grandma.
Yeah. You know who shares my birthday? Doc Holliday. The real Doc Holliday.
Oh, wow. That's
on
cool.
my birthday.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I love the West, and I love any historic figures like that. That's pretty badass. And definitely if you like that movie, Tombstone.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Val Kilmer killed that. So before we get too far, I want to let folks know that they can go to, and you need to spell it out, ihearthorror.net. And they can find out a little bit more information. There's some very cool video because you're mentioning, we've Alice Coopered everybody to death already. You've actually met the man. You have some terrific video on this site that people need to go see. It's very entertaining, and it's very cool. And he is down with this in a big way.
He really is. He was so touched. Because what happened was a couple of years ago, before when our holiday got passed, I took the pilgrimage to see his daughter in Philadelphia and tell her about it and get the message to Alice. Her being a little easier to see in person or whatever. And I told her, and she goes, my dad's gonna love this. I think he's gonna definitely get behind it. And and I've been keeping in touch with her Calico, and telling her how how we're getting along and updating her, whatever. And she's thrilled. And then we had the opportunity to meet the man Alice, which we haven't met since '96.
Yeah, '96.
And when we
Madison Square Garden.
And he left a really great, beautiful impression on us. We realized that that our heroes are sometimes really nice people. Because there could be a lot of heroes you meet that definitely.
I've gotten both ends of that spectrum. It is wonderful when it turns out that they're delightful humans.
And so besides him, when I met George, same way, like, really sweet, talks to you like your friends forever. Right. Don't talk down to you, but with you, and as a fan, another fan. I mean, that's how Alice is a huge horror fan. That's why he got into doing what he does. Or whatever.
Welcome to my nightmare. There doesn't get much more horrible than that. And something else I want folks to know is that not only have you invented an incredibly cool holiday, and not only do you have an incredibly cool, patriarch residing over this in Alice, but all of the proceeds from the events. Now, the events surrounding this is you have the I Heart Horror Day Fest. It's got live music, vendors, and all that stuff. And in this year,
authors, we have a thing called the Red Room, which is filled with authors, all horror authors.
Fantastic.
So if you love horror authors and stories and scary stories, they got a bunch in there.
And again, folks can go on iHeartHorror.net to get more of the details. But that's going to be Saturday, February 10th, and that's at the VFW in Sayreville, New Jersey. But
across from Starland.
Across from Star. We have not spoken about the charitable part of this, which is, I think, really important to touch on.
Okay. Well, going forward, I just want to just tie up the thing with Ron McCloskey. So he created that Frankenstein Friday, and I said, Ron, how did you do this? How did you get your holiday? He said, check out Chase's calendar of events, and he was the man who got us connected with Chase's. So he's very important. Speaking of some people that gets us attached to important people that attach us to important things, our friend Lisa Zwonar is a good friend of ours, and she is the one who made the call to Deborah, which is became our charity, and we are very happy, and we were teammates, me and my brother, and and Doreen and Cindy, which are the ones that pretty much represent the public relations, right? Yeah. They're the ones that get out there and do the the show, the events like the Iron Hard Day, and you wouldn't think that these two ladies that were so casual, they're definitely sweet, and I'm not going to say they're bland because they're so nice, but they're not your average horror fans that would be like.
Who is though? I mean, we can't go on with the stereotypes. And for folks that are listening outside of our local area, Deborah Heart and Lung Center is one of the larger heart and lung centers. They save a lot of lives. They help a lot of people all over the Mid-Atlantic region. Very, very important work that they do. And they're wonderful at what they do.
And we come across a lot of people when they hear, who we are working with and who the charity is. They say, my grandmother's life was saved there, or my brother, he was very sick and they got him back on track, whatever.
We work miracles.
Yeah, we have
come across
numerous stories, great stories, beautiful stories, and then we count our blessings that we are connected with them, and we will always be connected with them. They're happy with us, and we love working with them.
Outstanding. So, how many times have you met Alice Cooper?
That would have been the second. That'd have been the second time. I live, we live in Sayreville, Starland. Being here, and I worked for the Birch Hill for years as a roadie. Alice did play at the Starland, and I ran into him briefly at that time because my best friend Michelle, her brother, was one of the roadies at Birch Hill, and then he was hired over at Starland when Birch Hill closed. So we were able to, pretty much have VIP. So we were in the VIP lounge, but I wasn't like, I was at that point. I was like, I'm not worthy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I kept my.
You were a fanboy, weren't you?
Well, I'm always a fanboy, but I was like, I'm not gonna fan over this guy. I'm gonna let everybody.
Well, you met him.
Yeah, I have met him. I'm gonna have other people, give other people the opportunity to talk to him, and I'm just gonna watch people enjoy meeting him from a distance. So yeah, it was the 2 times, but 2 very impactful times.
Very impactful.
Now this event, in like, you've got the charitable angle, you've got all these horror fans coming together. You also have authors and you have celebrities. Tell us a little bit about who's going to be there in February.
Well, it all started with getting bigger celebrities with
the first
with Brian O'Halloran coming to us and wanting to be involved with the first one we did, and he was
for non-local folks or non-trivia folks. Brian O'Halloran would be Dante,
yes,
from the Clerks movies. And he's not supposed to be here today.
And for a movie fan in general, I mean, you gotta, if you are a true movie fan, you were riding that wave that was the independent film craze. That put movies like Clerks,
and he was like a rash in that. Yeah, he's great. He's a terrific actor.
So he pretty much waived the fee that he would usually charge, for appearance, and so he can make the money, so we can actually use the money we would have paid him to give to Deborah. So
that's fantastic. That's fantastic. What a class act. What a class move.
It truly is, and we are now going forward, and we're going into different realms of actors.
We're still having Kevin Smith people there, though.
Yeah, Kevin Smith people. We still want them to be involved. Their family, and now we got Patty Mullen, which is Frankenhooker. She just agreed to do it.
Wow.
And and also a big guy he's an icon for horror fans. His name is Steve Barton, Uncle Creepy. They call him Uncle Creepy. He's produced and worked on movies like Hatchet and the Terrifier films, and he was close friends with George Romero. He's part of the Garf Foundation. So
I think he created Dread Central. He's part creator of Dread Central.
Dread Central, if you ever heard of that before. Yeah, so sure. He's coming back.
No, it's the first time.
Excuse me, first time. And we got Jason Knight just signed on. He's an ECW wrestler. So we're starting to branch off.
People from the Terrifier camp.
Yeah, we're bringing in the Terrifier camp, and hopefully the
Clown Cafe kids,
from the Terrifier. And also the Blair people from Blair Witch, because this is a big anniversary coming up. And we're good.
How long is it now?
It's going to be 25.
Oh,
yeah, we're good friends with Matt Blasi, which
runs the Blair Witch Experience. He wrote a book about Blair Witch called The 8 Days in the Woods.
Yeah, so you go out there in Maryland, and he'll bring you to the sites, the important sites from the Blair Witch movie. So we became fast friends with him there, and then I realized he was connected with Garf,
which is the George A. Romero Foundation.
So the fact that he has that connection with George,
and Steve Barton's part of George A. Romero Foundation.
Yes, that's another thing that Steve Barton is on his credits. Is part of the Garf Foundation. Yep. So yeah, we're messing with it with a lot of cool and fun new things, and one of the things I want to bring in is a horror host annually, and hopefully we're in talks with them. Mr. Lobo, which represents this area, the Pennsylvania area. Unfortunately, New Jersey doesn't have their own horror host. We borrow a lot of them from Pennsylvania.
We had Zachary back in the day.
Yeah, Zachary originally, he was from Pennsylvania.
Yeah, me and Chris are
did a lot in New Jersey.
We're big horror hosts.
He became the face of Chiller,
Chiller Theater.
Zachary. So, yep. So that's a lot of a lot of the people that are coming. I think we're gonna cap that off now because there's just so many vendors and authors and music. I mean, there's. And again, like I mentioned earlier, off interview, it's not the Taj Mahal, so I gotta control myself with as much I'm bringing in that place. But hopefully, the next time we do this in 2025 will be a 2-day, and we can mix and match.
Oh, it's a great event. I'm looking forward to attending, and it's something to say. So you guys cooked this up together.
Yeah.
Now, I'm assuming because you're the oldest, you started the horror trend. between the two of you.
Yeah. Well,
Now, are you the only horror fans in the family, or are you?
Oh,
are you
we were talking about this before we were gonna.
Where did you guys come from?
Well, first of all, we were talking about it. So
there's definitely no horror fan. I mean, our little cousin, which is like a little,
second,
he's like a brother to us.
He's our first cousin.
Yeah. He's been on the horror train, and I'm very proud of him. But besides that, I mean,
our dad's side of the family doesn't like anything to do with horror. They don't like Halloween. They're more Christmas people.
I mean, my earlier, my Aunt Cindy, when she was in high school and stuff like that, that was her Black Sabbath records, her Uriah Heep records.
Yeah, that's our mom's side.
She had the Alice Cooper Killers that it was the first Alice Cooper album I ever saw or ever saw. The words Alice and Cooper together, and like, who's this
sure. I mean, it's crazy if you don't. The first time you see that is my mind. And speaking of the first time, what was the first horror movie that you saw that you remember seeing and going, wow?
The first, well,
for each of you, you can each, because I know that you got a little time in between you, so that that probably would be different eras.
Well, like I mentioned, what was very influential on me as a person I am today is things like Scooby-Doo and Casper. I mean, I wanted Casper to be my best friend back then, and I wanted a dog like Scooby-Doo, pretty much, and it opened up the world to ghosts and monsters and ghouls and that. So that was like one of the earlier things to do with horror, and of course, I'll get into the first horror movie, but then and then things like the Addams Family. I mean, that shows like the Addams Family and the Munsters.
The Munsters, yeah,
very influential because my grandmother, when I was younger, she would put me in front of the TV set, and I would just she didn't have to take care of watch me. She'd have to feed me once in a while, but pretty much I was fixated on that TV set watching all the old classic shows. So things like like I said, Addams Family and Casper and Scooby-Doo.
You forgot the Ghost and Mrs. Muir.
Oh my goodness. Yes, that is a fantastic, great memory. Yeah. I bring that up once in a while when going deep with old shows. Mrs. Muir, which I think started as it was a movie. It was based on a movie.
It was.
It was a spin-off from a movie. But it was the first. It was the first movie that really did it for me. I think got that the intrigue with horror, and that was Jaws. And that was a mistake because my parents were on a date at a drive-in here in Sayreville, and I was in the back seat. I was supposed to be passed out, and there's something that woke me up. I got up, and I'm like, "Where am I? And what is this?" And it was actually. It was at one scene where it's like the hull of the boat and the head comes out and with the fisherman that was killed by Jaws or whatever, and I kept on watching it from the back seat, and I was in love with horror from that point on. So that was the first horror movie for me.
Yeah, and for me, there's a debate if it's considered a horror movie. I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark when I was like 3 years old. There's that part at the end of the movie where there's the melting faces, and I don't know if that's considered horror. It's pretty horrific.
It is horrific. I was going to say horrific counts.
To be fair, I think that Raiders was in like Fango or for that scene for the melting faces, because that's why we love Indiana Jones, because there's some really dark
horror elements, darker elements too.
So you got to tip a hat to the indie movies because of that.
But I'm just trying to think. So if you're not going with like Raiders of the Lost Ark, it'd probably be Gremlins. Would probably be like my first horror movie, and in the theaters would probably be Gremlins.
Right. Yeah. So currently, top 3 horror movies for both of you.
Currently, so are we talking about modern ones? Because
any of them. Top 3 favorite movies.
Well, 3
horror
favorite
movies.
Well, horror movies.
Yeah, 3 favorite horror movies in general. And we were trying to make this list the other day, and it's
we had to do 10 only.
It's aggravating. We've been doing these lists for years. We go on social media, Facebook, and say this is our top horror movies, or this is our top vampire movies, or this is top there's all the different genres and categories, whatever. Off the top of my head, always Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and Night of the Living Dead, the original Night of the Living Dead, and I guess Jaws, because it's that important. That's my first movie.
Yeah, and for me, it's Poltergeist, and Halloween, and Gremlins probably are my three favorites.
And not that you asked, but I'm going to throw mine in: Rosemary's Baby, The Exorcist, and Interview with the Vampire.
Oh yeah.
Wow, the first two are really hardcore. I love Interview. I actually just got the Claudia pop, which I've been wanting for a while.
Right.
Yeah. She was my favorite character in the movie, believe it or not.
She was what? I think she was 12 when she did that movie. She was such a stunning performance in that film.
Oh yeah. I was a fan ever since then. And she's actually a Jersey girl. She's from Point Pleasant. So yeah, she wasn't born there, but she was raised in Point Pleasant. So I'm kind of proud we have that connection. Always proud of all the horror that comes out of New Jersey. That's one of the reasons why I wanted.
There's a reason for that, by the way. Just
what? Because we're a hellmouth here.
Well, that's a reason all the horror comes out of New Jersey. But they're all going to start writing me letters because I'm not originally from New Jersey. I'm from Rhode Island. So go ahead and write me letters on that.
Oh yeah, so Rhode Island. I didn't know if it was New York or again. I think we've discussed this before. You've told me.
Yeah, I'm originally from a little town in Rhode. Actually, I'm from about 40 minutes from where they were filming Jaws.
Oh, so Martha's Vineyard.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
Well, take that 40 minutes from the Martha's Vineyard ferry.
We're going back there for the 50th, hopefully. Yeah, that's in a couple of years from now.
Yeah, we're trying to do the whole 50th thing. Like, we want to go to Texas.
We're finally going to get to Texas, hopefully, this August for their 50th. And then next year, the following year is going to be the
Jaws,
Martha's Vineyard. Yeah.
But you know about the Lady in the Dunes?
Lady in the Dunes. But you could tell us.
Joe Hill, the author, who is some may or may not realize is Stephen King's son. All you have to do is Google Joe Hill, Lady in the Dunes, and Jaws. There is an unsolved murder that goes back to the 70s in Cape Cod, and there is a Jane Doe that to this day has not been identified that washed up on the shore. And what happened was he thought he spotted from the artist's rendering of what she would look like from what they found. He thinks that she may have been an extra in Jaws, and at the time they didn't do what they do now, where they have everybody's going to sign leases. The paperwork was just like, all right, you guys over there, just all go over there. Everybody's going to get $10, and we're going to just have you stand around like you're doing whatever. It was a little more loosey goosey. So they don't have like a firm record of who was on set that day because of they were just locals.
Oh, that's very interesting.
So if folks, if you Google Jaws, Lady of the Dunes, and you'll see the stuff with Joe Hill and everything, and it's really fascinating. Having remembered that case being in my local news growing up, and it's kind of
I never heard of it. That's crazy. I mean, because we're another reason why Jaws is so important to me is because
we're by Mattawan.
We're only a few towns from Mattawan, where the inspiration,
the 1916 shark attacks happened.
Yeah, happened.
There's a great mural there too.
Oh yeah.
On the cover of Weird New Jersey. Yeah.
Yeah, I met the guy. His name is Tattoo Bob, and he told me he did that in like pitch black, he didn't have a light or anything. He did that in the dark, in complete darkness. So that's pretty impressive.
It's very impressive. Also impressive is inventing a holiday. And gentlemen, I can't thank you so much for taking time out of what has to be a hellacious schedule. Once again, we are here with Christopher Chainsaw and Gregory Cuneo, and we have the iHeartHorror.net. I gotta watch that accent. I'm not gonna know how to spell it. iHeartHorror.net. And that's for iHeart Horror Day. And this is going to be like the worst accent ever for this thing. iHeart Horror Day. And that's going to be Saturday, February 10th in 2024. It's going to be 11 to 6 at the VFW in Sayreville, New Jersey. But go to the iHeart Horror website. And gentlemen, any parting words for everybody? Tell them to come on down, right?
Oh, yeah. And we actually just realized that we will probably be going beyond 6 o'clock. That was an older poster So
okay.
So I'm keeping the time.
We're trying to stick close to the time, but we said that there might be a little bit of leniency there. So
Yeah. So it's it's not 6. We're not going to be kicking people out at 6 o'clock, or we're probably still inviting people in because we need all that charity.
Absolutely. Because this is going to benefit the Deborah Heart and Lung Center that does an amazing amount of work. So why don't we just say it's from 11 a.m. until the screams die down?
I like that. Yeah. I might steal that if you don't mind, Rocky.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Anything I can do to help you with your event, because you're doing some very important work. And thank you for adding a holiday to the calendar for all of us horror fans. So now we finally have I Heart Horror Day. So
Correct.
Thank you so much both to Christopher and Gregory. And I appreciate all that you're doing. And let folks know, how do you feel about the Macabre World podcast?
Oh,
we love it.
We love it.
We love you, Rocky.
All right, we love you too. So everybody,
Sure.
make sure you go ahead to ihearthorror.net and go ahead and check out all you need to know about the event. See that cool video with Alice Cooper. And remember, this is going to be doing some good for Deborah Heart and Lung Center. So just go ahead and check them out. And remember, folks, thank you for listening and stay kooky out there. Thank you for listening to Macabre World. You can find us on the web at www.darkerartsstudio.com.